An event occurs that completely changes the wife's life. It all happened because surprisingly there was a letter from her husband in the mailbox yesterday. "What's this?" she muttered as she opened it, only to find a filled-out divorce paper inside. Overwhelmed with shock, the wife feels a turmoil in her chest. The letter contained harsh words. "You are the worst for not dedicating yourself to me and my family. Reflect on yourself a bit. If your attitude doesn't change, I will divorce you." The wife couldn't hide her agitation. She was madly in love with him, so she probably believes that divorce is unthinkable. What will be the wife's choice? How will the wife act after this? Please stay tuned until the end. I am Rosa, 25 years old. My husband Ethan is 28 years old. We both work, and we don't have children. After marriage, he changed into a completely different person. He was kind when we were dating, but changed drastically once we got married. He turned into an abusive husband. Although I also work, he acts very arrogantly. Yet, I never go against him. Hence, because I fell head over heels for him due to his good looks when I first met him. I aggressively pursued him, desperately wanting him to notice me. And finally, he agreed to marry me. A tempted course even after marriage. I love him dearly. That's why I can't go against what he says. I had dreamed of a happy marriage with him, but my married life wasn't happy. Ethan began to say things like, "Just be quiet and follow me because you are my wife. It's obvious that you should serve me and my parents." Our home is close to his parents' house. For some reason, he always wants to take me to his parents' house. To be frank, I don't get along with my mother-in-law. She has quite old-fashioned beliefs typical of parents of that generation. "Since you married my son, you naturally have to take care of us, right?" she told me when we first met. Honestly, I don't even want to see my in-laws as I find them difficult to deal with. Moreover, whenever I visit their place, I am endlessly put to work, helping with the garden, cleaning, and accompanying them for shopping, all the while enduring snide remarks from my mother-in-law. It's not just once or twice a year. He wants to go back home every weekend. My in-laws insist that it's natural for a daughter-in-law to help with household chores when visiting, and they dump all the chores on me. And even when at his parents' place, Ethan hardly does any household work. It feels like I am an unpaid housemaid. We both work, so I want to clean our home and catch up on pending chores during our days off. Yet, I couldn't do any of that because we were always at his parents' house. Then one day, which was a Friday, my body gave in to the relentless strain. I said to him, "Can we take a break this weekend? I feel quite lethargic." But he replied, "That's not possible, right? My parents are looking forward to our visit. You can endure a little discomfort, can't you? Discomfort, can't you? Don't you think it's inconsiderate to disappoint them?" He didn't even care that I was feeling unwell. I was increasingly getting frustrated with him caring only about his parents. And this week, "I'm not going. You can go by yourself." What are you thinking? It's unacceptable for a wife to shirk her duties. But Jing, you're making me sick. I'm going out to drink. And just like that, he stormed out in a huff. In the end that day, he didn't come back home. At that time, I felt something was off. Now I started to care about things I ignored because I was blinded by love. He says he's working overtime, comes home late. While I was helping out at his parents' house, he would go out somewhere. I didn't mind that until now. But thinking about it, his actions are too suspicious. So the step I took was to hire a detective to investigate Ethan. Next day, I quickly requested the investigation from the detective. And I thought it would be fine if it turns out to be a misunderstanding. The fact that he often works late and leaves me to take care of his parents during holidays. Also, suddenly his attitude towards me became cold after we got married. All these things started to bother me. The next day, as usual, he didn't come home. At that time, I received a message from my friend Hilda. She was also married. Therefore, we would contact each other like this and chat. My friend said, "It seems like you and Rosa have a good relationship." "Oh, isn't your marriage going well?" I couldn't tell my friend that Ethan had left home and hadn't returned. Eventually, Ethan didn't come back over the weekend, and then Monday in the end, he returned late at night. "You've been pretty insolent lately, huh? You better go take care of my folks this weekend, you understand?" He said, full of sarcasm. His words have never sounded as hollow as they did today. I swallow the words. "Say hi to that person you're cheating with for me." Anyway, he intends to have me look after his parents while he meets his lover. And so, in fact, I heard the intern report from the detective today. The results of the detective's investigation proved his affair. Moreover, yesterday there was an envelope from him to the mailbox. What could this be? I thought, and when I opened the envelope, there was a filled-out divorce paper inside. That's in the letter enclosed with the envelope. It was written, "You, who don't serve me or my family, are the worst. Reflect on yourself. If your attitude doesn't change, I will divorce you." The earlier phrase, he said, probably implied that he believes I can't divorce him because I'm in love with him. But now, knowing that Ethan has betrayed me, my love for him has disappeared. Furthermore, bad news follows. I got a call from his mother this weekend that my father is in the hospital. He has cancer. Since getting married, I haven't been allowed to go back to my parents' home because my parents' house is far away. I can only go back on weekends. Even when I told him my father has cancer, he said, "Just because he's cancer doesn't mean he's going to die right away, right? My folks are looking forward to seeing you. Tell you my parents now that you are my wife." This certainly makes my blood boil. And he probably plans to meet his lover while making me look after his parents. I just nodded vaguely in response to him. Finally, the weekend. The next day, there were incessant calls and messages from him, and the content was laughably absurd. I got a call from my mom. "You didn't go there, did you? What the heck is going on?" Action, I wonder in which world there's a wife who goes to take care of the cheating husband's parents. Moreover, he won't even let me go home knowing my father is ill. There's no way I would listen to such a man. Actually, that situation, I had applied for an extension of the investigation at the detective agency. Those are according to the results of the investigation. He intends to go on an adulterous trip while making me take care of his parents. Of course, currently, the detective is keeping an eye on him. As for me, I took some time off from work and went back to my parents' home. For the first time in years, I felt liberated from my abusive husband and bullying mother-in-law. I felt like dancing. I then headed straight to the hospital and burst into my father's room. Seeing me return suddenly, my mother asked, surprised, "What happened that you came back suddenly without any notice? And is it okay to leave your husband alone?" As I explained the circumstances, both my dad and mom were furious. "I can't leave you with that man," my father said angrily, seemingly revitalized by his anger. I've been steadily preparing for divorce since returning home. I consulted a lawyer, and meanwhile, the detective agency has been continuously sending me evidence of the affair. This is how I am gathering evidence to gain the upper hand in the divorce. That's when the incident happened. On the day Ethan returned from his trip, unable to reach me, he shockingly stormed into his parents' home. There is quite a distance between our house and his parents' place. I couldn't think of anything but what a hassle he is putting himself through. When I checked the intercom, he was causing a scene saying, "Didn't I tell you I'd divorce a wife who cannot take care of my dad and mom? Didn't you neglect them over the weekend?" I decided to confront him at the door. Even after seeing me, he kept shouting, "What the hell do you think you're doing? I'll divorce you just like that." But to him, I said, "We are strangers now, you know. I have no obligation to look after the family of someone who's practically a stranger." "What? What did you say? Have you forgotten? You sent me the divorce papers already filled out by yourself." Upon seeing the divorce papers he sent me, I immediately signed them without any intention of continuing a relationship with a man like that. And the next day, on my way back from work, I filed them at the city hall. This with a faint smile. I informed him, "Wait, you actually filed the divorce papers? Yes, surprising, isn't it? We are already divorced. You and I are strangers. You and I are strangers now." I burst out laughing and Ethan's face turned pale. "What do you mean by divorce? It's a joke, right?" Ink sticks over. Despite usually acting so arrogant, I couldn't help but laugh looking at him. As from Ethan's perspective, I must have been head over heels for him to think that I couldn't do something like this. However, considering what I had been through with him, it was only natural. I decided to push him even further. "By the way, you were on an affair trip, weren't you?" Smirking, I showed him the photographs of the affair that had been sent to me by the detective agency. The photographs were of Ethan and his affair partner enjoying their illicit trip. Pictures of them walking in what seemed like a spa town, and having a jovial conversation in a hotel lobby were included. The person he was having an affair with was none other than my friend Hilda. I realized this during the first investigation by the detective at that time. That it must have been because she was colluding with him that Hilda messaged me immediately after Ethan left. She asked about our marital relationship back then, probably to confirm whether I had noticed his infidelity. In essence, I was being mocked by the two people I trusted the most. In other words, he seemed extremely shocked looking at the evidence of the affair I handed over. His eyes were wide open and his mouth was agape. It seemed he hadn't expected me to find out about his infidelity. Looking at his dumbfounded face, I couldn't help but laugh heartily. You thought I would just do as you say, huh? I knew about your affair, and to top it off with my friend, I have more than enough evidence, don't I? Don't mess with me. You filed the divorce papers without my consent. That kind of thing is invalid. Oh, I've consulted a lawyer about the divorce. When I discussed the divorce papers with the lawyer, they said that the filled-out divorce paper indicates a mutual agreement to divorce, so those divorce papers with the lawyer, they said that the filled-out divorce paper indicates a mutual agreement to divorce, so those divorce papers are valid. Upon hearing this, his eyes widened even further and he began trembling. Up to above all, he didn't expect to find out about his affair and to come home to find out why don't you worry about your dear Hilda? I have sent these evidential photographs to her husband and your parents' house. They should be arriving soon, shouldn't they? Saying this, I flaunted the photographs of the affair I had received from the detective agency in front of Ethan's face. I bet the affair trip was really enjoyable, wasn't it? It seems like he realized there was no way out. The tears began to stream down his face. I didn't actually intend to divorce. It was supposed to be a threat. And crying, he clung to me, but of course there was no way that plea was going to work. No, weren't you the one who brought up the divorce? You're the one who said you divorced me, right? But, I didn't mean it. Playing the crying card now. Your crying doesn't move me at all. Moreover, the person you had an affair with is a friend. I almost feel like crying myself, Oh yes. I will be demanding alimony from you. You'll be billed by Hilda's husband too, right? Make sure to pay it, okay? Ethan started shaking uncontrollably and fell to his knees, crying. During him, I closed the door. Later, according to a mutual friend, Ethan apparently consulted a lawyer to invalidate the divorce, but he was told it was impossible since it had already been filed at the city hall. Despite not wanting to divorce, he persisted but was told that even if he went to court, it would only work against him, so he seemed to have given up. It's nothing but his own fault for flippantly showing off the divorce papers as a joke. I guess it's better to refer to him as my ex-husband now since the divorce has been finalized. As it turns out, Ethan has been using our savings for an affair. He tried to rely on his in-laws to pay the alimony, but it seems they flatly refused. And now it looks like he's taking out loans to pay my alimony. I'm also claiming alimony from Hilde. I even handed over several pieces of evidence of the affair to her husband Jones. Naturally, she is likely to be asked to pay alimony by her own husband as well. It seems she was kicked out of the house the moment she returned from a trip. Furthermore, she's been disowned by her parents and has nowhere to turn to. It's her just desserts. Now she is paying alimony to both me and Jones in installments. In this way, I've gained my freedom. At the cisterns, I had asked to be transferred to a branch near my parents' home at the company the moment I found out about Ethan's affair. It seems like I'll be able to move to the branch near my family's home next month. Not long after, Ethan ended up quitting his job. The rumor about the reason for our divorce spread throughout the neighborhood after I told a mutual friend. I'm not in the wrong. I just honestly told what happened. Then the rumor quickly spread to his workplace. As a result, he seemed to be talked about behind his back at the office, with whispers like the guy who got dumped for being emotionally abusive to his wife. He apparently threatened his wife with filled-out divorce papers, and then she really filed them. Well, that's karma for him. Even when her father had cancer, he didn't let her go back home. He's the worst. And so Ethan, now isolated in the company, seems to have resigned voluntarily since he had no place there anymore. Now, he seems to be working part-time at a convenience store. Even his parents, who he was counting on, seem to have disowned him because they don't want a son with debts. I hear he is in a pitiful state that's unbearable to look at. The divorce mediation was prolonged because he was being stubborn, but my lawyer fought hard for me. Finally, I moved to the branch near my family home. Now I'm living at my family home. There were bad times, but also good times. My father miraculously recovered afterwards. Now I am living a calm life at my parents' home, just with my parents. I'm glad Dad's cancer is cured. It feels like the sickness was all a lie now, doesn't it? If I had returned a daughter like you at home, I can't even rest peacefully. He jokes, but he's now full of energy. I think that if I find a new relationship, I will carefully choose someone who won't make me go through that again. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. If you resonated with the content, please leave a positive rating and a comment.